When it comes to Avengers Endgame, we know that the film initially was going to be even bigger than it ended up being, featuring tons of other characters and little cameos that couldn't make their way into the final cut. Today, we're going to talk about one of the biggest villains in the MCU, Dormammu. So when it came to Avengers Endgame, we know that they had to scale back the amount of heroes and villains that inevitably ended up in the final cut of the film. Now, of course, one of the most important characters in the MCU is Doctor Strange, and in his first film, he of course fought one of his biggest foes, Dormammu. Now, of course, many people and myself, and I've talked about this plenty on the channel, were rather disappointed that Dormammu was used in the first film and not built up as this giant, potential even phase villain considering of his stature and importance. Now, going into Avengers Endgame again, to bring this all the way around, we now know a detailed scene of where Dormammu would have actually appeared in Avengers Endgame. I will link it down below for you guys, but the scene where we see the Ancient One and the Hulk was where this was to take place. So the scene plays out with the Ancient One demonstrating the timeline once again to Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk. And she shows off how the different breaches of reality would affect if different stones were removed. At this point, we would zoom in and get teleported to Hong Kong, where we see cars flying around, the crowd running down the streets, much like they were in the Doctor Strange movie. This, of course, then leads us to the Hong Kong Sanctum Sanctorum, and when the camera pans up, we would see Dormammu ravaging destruction across the city. Now, we don't know why exactly this scene was cut, but my speculation would be, and this is just speculation, that it was already way too crowded as it is. You know, if you watch Avengers Endgame, there's already a few things going on in there that have to take away from some of the other moments where characters reunite and what's happening. Having the Ancient One do this, show us this, then have Dormammu show up, then some of the people that didn't see Doctor Strange, you know, they'd have to understand who this is. They might have to explain even to Bruce Banner who Dormammu is. It just kind of would have taken away from the film. Now, along with this, I think they also made the right choice with this, considering we're finding out many cut elements, and I think Dormammu probably would have been the most complicated one to really kind of go over all of these little details. Now, at the same time, you have to realize that she's talking about all these fragmented realities and everything, so with the Multiverse of Madness coming out down the road, it's not completely out of the question that Dormammu can return from some other multiverse, and I think that's really what they're going to save it for, his next appearance being something bigger and not just a small little cameo in an Avengers film.